Hello, welcome to another Alpha Strike We Play video. My name is Adam and this is Tarron.
Hey buddy, how we doing?
We are talking about the coolest vehicles.
The coolest.
Well, yeah, they are. They're
No,
all
they
cool,
are.
but these are cool.
They're
yes.
great.
VTOLs. Vertical
VTOLs.
takeoff and landing.
Helicopters.
Helicopters.
Yes.
From Greece. Yes. Alright, so there are a lot of VTOLs, as you can imagine, to choose from, as well as the clans have some as well. They've made some cool ones, but we'll start with the basics.
Basics.
What to expect if you have a VTOL in your games of BattleTech. So let's have a
Yeah,
look
they
at
are a
those first.
little different from the standard ground combat vehicles, obviously. The main difference is that they can change their level. It's one movement point per level change from where you are, either up or down. Most of them have really high movement. Some of them are a bit heavy and go down to like 6s or 8s or whatever, but most of them are pretty fast. So you need to pick your movement, your level for your movement, and you're going to have problems depending on how you do that, because they are subject to side slips, like the hovercrafts were. If you forget, have a look. But they are subject to side slips. So if you're at, say, level 2 and you're moving towards a level 2 hill at flank and you turn and then try to take off in another direction, you have to make a piloting skill check, and if you fail that, you'll side slip a certain distance, and if you go far enough, you'll hit that hill and you'll basically explode, probably.
So if you've watched any of the movies like Godzilla, when they're chasing him with the helicopters and stuff, that's the sort of thing. So going fast, there is a risk if you turn and keep moving. But considering they're capped at about 30 tons, you know, you're gonna get a decent speed out of them. So a lot of the times you can actually just go at your cruise speed. Cruise.
But if you want to get that movement in, then the easiest way to do it is to figure out the highest point on the map. Go, okay, so level 3 is the highest we've got. Move up to level 4 and just go for it. Because even if you side slip, as long as you stay away from the edge of the map, you're okay.
That's right. And the ability to basically go anywhere on the map.
And they can go basically anywhere.
Yeah. It gives you tactically a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got canyons or cities or whatever, you can use the terrain to your advantage. You can pick your targets and basically plan out where you're going to go. It's pretty good.
And like wheeled vehicles, a lot of these are transport units. So you'll be able to take infantry and things like that, battle armor and stuff like that with you. And if you can do that super duper quickly, like one end of the battlefield to the other in one turn, drop the infantry off, and then they're causing havoc back there, it's fun.
It's really good, yeah. And essentially, when you add it all up BV wise, or even if you play C-bills, it still works out quite cheap.
They're cheap.
That's a good way to secure an area of the battlefield pretty quickly. It's good.
And to annoy the living poo-poo out of people. There used to be a thing, I'm pretty sure, you'll have to correct me on this, you'll probably correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure there used to be a pop-up rule. So I think it was something like if you hadn't expended X amount of MP and you were behind cover, you were allowed to move up, take a shot, and then move down again.
Correct.
And that was pretty overpowered. I loved that. That was great. Because it meant you weren't getting shot back at.
Yeah.
Something like a yellow jacket with a Gauss rifle going.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Nobody's allowed to hit him back. It's just rude.
Yeah.
Dear.
We probably won't go into a lot of the optional stuff in this video. We're just going to talk about your basic rules. Because that's where you should get started with. But they had things, like you're saying, the pop-up rules. They have chin turrets. There was like a spotter camera on
That's
top
still there.
as well. That's still there, is it?
You get a spotter mast or something, sensor mast. So it sticks up above the rotor, so you can technically stay behind cover and still spot for LRMs and artillery and all that sort of stuff. It's really good.
Yeah.
Really good. Look it up. Some basic rules though, your attacks, you aren't allowed to attack anything in the same hex as your VTOL, and it doesn't matter how high or how low you're flying, you're not allowed to attack anything in the same hex.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Well, when they're landed, they don't really have as much manoeuvrability, and
No.
when they're flying, they can't shoot down. I suppose bomb racks would be handy. But,
Bomb rack would be cool. Yeah.
That's the thing.
You could fit one with a bomb rack, I think. I'm pretty sure you're allowed to. You resolve your line of sight as if it occupies a clear hex at the level equal to its present elevation, which is obvious, but we better say it anyway. You have, for VTOLs, actual helicopter, like VTOL units, vehicles, you get a permanent +1 target movement modifier when making attacks against them. Because they are moving that fast. Even when they're standing still, you just get, as long as they're not landed, even when they're sitting in the same hex, you still get a permanent +1.
Yeah.
As long as it's airborne, +1 to hit it. When the VTOL is airborne, you get the normal movement mods for firing from them. Hello, buddy. No, don't use your teeth.
Dixie,
And don't use it on me either.
come here.
No, I'm chilling with the boys.
I'm listening about tech.
So let's have a look at something else. They've got a separate hit location table. So let's bing that. That's on page 196, along with the critical hits table of Total Warfare. And we'll bing it. Bing! And you can see there they've taken a couple of the location things out and changed it for rotors. There's four of them are rotor hits. And obviously they all involve motive system damage, because that's the motive system.
Yeah.
Which means that not only are you getting a motive system hit, you're also getting a specific rotor hit. So the damage to a rotor is 1 for every 10 or part thereof that a weapon does. So a medium laser will do 1 point. A PPC will do 1 point. Something that does 12 points of damage, which I can't think of off the top of my head, probably a laser of some description, will do 12 points of damage, will do 2 points.
Yeah.
Because it's a full 10 and then part of another 10. So that's nasty. But even worse is cluster weapons.
Oh, yeah.
And cluster weapons are good because they come through with multiple lots that are part of 10. So if you hit with, say, an LRM-20 with 12 missiles, you get a 5, a 5, and a 2. Each one of them counts as 1. So it's 3 points. And most rotors don't take more than about 3 or 4 points anyway, and they're gone.
That's right. Their armor, I think, maximum was like 2.
2, and then I think there's only 1 point of internal structure.
Yeah. Probably the most deadliest weapon that you can use against them is the LBX cannon.
Yes, a 2 or a 5 will
that's usually
obliterate them.
Yeah, that's right. Because you use your cluster. Not only do you get a -3 bonus because it's a VTOL or whatever, so you're getting some really good target numbers against it. You're doing 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. So chances are, considering
some
that
point,
there's 4 locations there on that table.
3, 4, 10, and 11 are all rotors on every side.
Yep. It will bring it down. So that is something to keep in mind if you are going to take VTOLs. If your opponent has those, that could cause some real problems for you.
Or if they carry a lot of missiles that go individually, so SRMs. ATM firing not the ATM, the MML firing short-range missiles, because they all strike individually. It doesn't matter how much they strike for, they'll always do 1 point. Yeah. So you got to watch out for that. There's a few different critical hit effects and things like that. We'll let you look them up for yourselves. One interesting thing, though, is the physical attacks against a VTOL. That's on page 198, and we'll bing that too. Bing! And you'll see there that if you fly your helicopter too close to things, they can actually hit you. Like physical attack weapon hit you. And I just like the 3. So if you're 3 levels above somebody, they can still hit you with a club or a physical weapon. So
that's right.
Flying across the top and they just hatchet you to hit.
You just turn the hatchet sideways, it comes like a fly swatter thing.
Yeah, you just... Oh dear. I think they get a +3 on motive. No, they don't get a plus on that motive because they're not on that motive. They have the rotor thing.
Yeah.
So additionally, damage to the rotor slows down the VTOL. Each hit reduces the VTOL's cruising MP by 1, meaning the controlling player must also recalculate flank, multiplying the new cruising out and rounding up. As with all damage, such movement penalties do not apply until the end of the phase in which the damage occurred. So they don't have to roll on the motive system table, but those 4 locations all reduce your movement points.
Yeah.
So
we found that a lot of the VTOLs are not really used as frontline units.
No.
Okay, the clans, some of the clans do. They're actually quite.
From the looks of the one you picked, I'm not surprised.
We'll have a talk about those, but yeah, like an actual attack helicopter, designed attack helicopter, they can be very nasty.
Yeah.
But because they're quite brittle, you'll find that most of them use, like you were saying, for troop transports. Very popularly used for them.
Support vehicles.
Yeah.
Not specifically support, but a combat vehicle that is in a supporting role.
Yeah.
Rather than a frontline troop. But I was reading the short stories again a while back, and there was one with a VTOL Lance defending like a scientific base against a lance of mechs.
Oof.
And it was really, really good. There was like 2 yellow jackets as part of the lance, and then a couple of warriors or something, I think, or mantises. And they were defending this thing against like 4 full-on mechs. It was really, really good. It's worth looking for the lore because it's really cool.
If you have a good pilot, it's like anything. You have a good pilot, you can do some pretty amazing things with the unit. And generally, BV, they're going to be a lot cheaper. So
BV-wise, they're
heaps
cheaper.
Yeah.
And I mean, the chances of you winning with them is pretty slim, but it's an interesting game to have.
Oh, definitely.
You let somebody pick, say, 2 or 3 battle mechs and give you a BV limit, and then just go nuts with hovers and VTOLs and stuff, and just put the best pilots in them you can, and you take them apart for a little while, and then they'll get the bead and drop you. But it'd be funny while it's happening.
I guess it depends how big a play area you have. Most people play games on 2 of the maps, and that's usually pretty good. They just want to play a game in an afternoon.
Yeah.
But if you play bigger games with more map space, then they can be a real problem.
You can get one of these guys on a single map. You can get it down to the other end of a map sheet in 1 turn. Easy peasy.
So, what terrain can a VTOL go into, and what can it not?
Well, for a start, they've got a maximum tonnage of 30. I think we already said that. But restricted terrain is any woods, hills, or structures at the same altitude. So you have to stay above anything that would normally give you cover. So you're not going to be getting cover from woods and things unless you hide behind it.
Correct.
You can't be in the same hex as woods. You can't be in the same hex as a building that's at the same level as you.
Unless you're going to land, I believe. So you can land on a building, assuming it can take the weight. You've got to keep the CF in mind, and clear and things like that is okay.
You can't land in water, obviously.
No.
But I've found a good one with the VTOLs is I very rarely go above level 6. You're not usually going to be above level 6, so having a separate small D6 next to your VTOLs to indicate their level is usually a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's not a bad idea anyway, or you can have like a little counter or something that tells you what it is. I got some of those little 2 mil dice things that you just stick it next to it and go. Yeah.
The teeny tiny
weeny ones. But yeah, so you're not going to be getting cover from hills, woods, structures, all of that stuff, but you can get behind them. But like I say, if you're moving too fast when you do that and you try to turn, you're going to have to take side slipping into account. So you want to be on a straight line to that piece of cover and then come down behind it, sort of thing. But that said, is there any other rules we want to go over? I don't think so.
No, I mean, as long as you've got the Total Warfare book and you're having a look around, what's it, 197? Yeah.
You got a list
it's
of
all on there.
Critical hit effects. So the pilot takes damage, the rotor takes damage. Engine damage is fun because you can end up crashing. All of that sort of stuff.
Give you penalties to shoot and do other things or whatever. So they have their own sort of critical table, which adds a bit of flavour. But it's the same sort of thing, they're not pressurised. So your Inferno missiles are going to cause problems for them. All that sort of thing. Unless you pay to have them sealed, which you can do, just like your tracked vehicles and your vehicles.
But with a VTOL, I mean, the sealing takes weight as well, doesn't it? So you know, with a max of 30. I mean, even the hovers have a max of 50. When you're working with a max of 30 tons, you've got some serious thinking to do.
Yeah. I think VTOLs do actually get when you're working out their speed, you get like a bit of a bonus or something. It's all in the design. So we haven't talked about going through designing vehicles, which we'll do later. So
because we're probably going to pimp a couple out. And
that's right.
Try and beat them up.
See if we can make Airwolf. Remember Airwolf?
I remember Airwolf. Yeah.
Classic series.
Dear.
Yeah, but I think that's it. That's the main thing. Just remember they are fast. They are quite brittle, but very, very mobile. Great for transporting troops.
Brilliant for transporting troops. Yeah. And yeah, there's a lot of them, and they've been around for a long time.
Especially with the inner sphere, your Star League designs and things like that. So, do you want to have a chat? You've had a look at a couple.
I quite like my VTOLs actually, partly because that pop-up rule used to be in effect, and that kind of sealed the deal for me when I read that. But there is one really, really cool one that isn't a transport, it isn't anything. It's only 782 BV for the standard version, and that is the Yellow Jacket.
Okay.
It's a 6.9, which is, for VTOLs, it's pretty slow.
Yeah.
But it's got good armor for a VTOL. Again, you've only got 2 armor points on the rotor, and then 3 internal structure on the rotor. So it doesn't matter how heavily you armor your VTOL. If somebody hits you in the rotor, you're going down.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a thing. But he carries a single Gauss rifle. And that, I mean, a Gauss rifle with a 22 range moving at 6.9 at level 4 is pretty devastating. Especially with only about 700 BV. You can put a decent pilot in there for less than 1,000. You can put a pretty decent pilot in there for less than 1,000. It's a cool little helicopter.
I mean, that's a lot of damage. 15 points of damage.
Yeah. I think so there's the ammo version, which dropped some armor to get more ammo. I think this one carries 2 tons. 16 is 2 for a Gauss rifle, isn't it? Yeah, they upped it to 24, but 16 is plenty. But the cool thing is they did one with an Arrow 4 system in it.
What?
Arrow 4, 2 tons of reloads, half a ton of armor removed to allow case.
My gosh.
So there's a Yellow Jacket with an Arrow 4 system in it, which is cool. There's a C3 version that has a ERPPC and a C3 slave, I'm pretty sure. And then you've got one with a rack with a targeting computer.
They're all pretty good.
They're
one with the C3 system. That could be very handy.
Yeah. So this is one of the slower VTOLs that you'll find. 6.9 is not very fast for a VTOL. You want to be moving very, very carefully. You want to be considering where you put this, because it's not going to rack up more than like a +2 plus the 1 for being a VTOL.
Yeah.
So maybe a +3 if you only move it at cruise speed. It's not very fast, but there's some cool variants, so it's worth considering. And you can always shoot one of your lighter ones ahead and take the Arrow 4 system one, and
that's right.
Shoot somebody else ahead.
Yeah, that's cool. Pretty versatile, actually. I like that.
The next favourite one I have is the Warrior. And the Warrior is a cool all-round combat helicopter. You've got a few different variants. There's at least one that's a troop transport. I know that for a fact. And the standard one is a 914 movement. It's less than half the armor of the Yellow Jacket, but they put that into speed, and it's worth it, because 9 at cruise is just...
That's good, yeah.
SRM4 and an Act 2 in the standard variant. But there is a version that has, I think it's 2 tons of... Oh no, there's one with a 5-ton infantry bay.
Ooh, now you're talking.
And I think there's one with an LRM rack. There's one with machine guns. There's one with some really cool, like, weird tech in it, like streaks and stuff. There's one with a rotary ack. I could have sworn there was one with a smaller infantry bay, but no, there's one with 2 heavy machine guns and a 5-ton infantry bay. But that is enough for a full stand of battle armor.
Yeah.
And it still has a 9-14 move. So you can get that full stand of battle armor from one end of the table to the other end, basically in one turn. I think the standard map sheet is 17 long.
Yeah.
So
that's really good.
It's done. You spend a couple of points getting it up above the level of the highest thing in your way, and then you just go straight down the map. It's brilliant.
Well, technically, you move onto the map, don't you? So you could come on at any height
you can deploy at any height you want. You can deploy at any speed you want in certain circumstances. You could start them as normal mechs, where you have to have them start landed.
Oh, yeah,
and make people take off and stuff, where you can have them placed and let them go at any level they want, and then start with whatever move they want. You can do whatever you want. But that standard version with the Act 2 and an SRM4 is only 295 BV.
Well, there you go. Just sits back and just pings away. So what's it got, like 90 shots? What's the AC? 90 shots or 40?
45.
45 shots.
It's just 1 ton of each. So 45 for the Act 2 and 25 for the SRM4.
Like it's, I don't know. I mean, if you're shooting other VTOLs, 2 points can actually be quite nasty, I suppose. But yeah.
But this one, for some reason, is 21 tons, and it just struck me, and I've loved it ever since. It's like, this is a really cool one. Yeah, it's really cool. Another one that is really cool that I've never actually used. Okay, I've never used this. I've never owned it. It's only 58 BV. It has bugger all armor. There's nothing. There's like 2 points on each location and 1 on the sides. But the Ferret Light Scout VTOL, its cruise is 15 and its flank is 23. So at cruising speed, it can make it pretty much a whole map sheet. It comes with 1 machine gun and 1 ton of ammo and 1 ton of infantry space. So you can put a squad of infantry into that, right? Which is like 7 troopers or something, I think it works out to. And then the only thing I think of with this, whenever I think of this one, and I've thought about buying one and using it, is to put like a tag troop in there. So you have tag infantry as a squad, and you could even take 3 of these dudes and 1 platoon of tag infantry, split them up between the helicopters and go.
Just even as a spotter, that would be really handy.
Well, that's for indirect fire, that is gold. I mean, you keep it up high and move 23, and you've got a massive modifier for like 18 to 24 is +5.
There you go.
Yeah, 18 to 24 is +5.
+5.
And then +1 for being a VTOL that's moving. So if you can get even close to 23, if you can get above 18 hexes that you've actually travelled through and you're moving as a VTOL, you've got a +6. And that's just gold.
Wow. If you've got anything less than a LBX cannon to shoot at,
But if you're facing mechs that are standard pilots, there are 4 gunnery. That is automatically a 10. And then you modify as you see. But that's your base number is a 10. That's gold.
That's cool, isn't it? That's very cool.
But that, I mean, it won't last long. If someone does hit it, it will be destroyed by the first thing that hits it, most likely. But getting that 1 squad of infantry the whole way down the board, dropping them near some sort of objective that needs to be spotted, destroyed, called artillery and on anything like that.
Yeah.
You sit that infantry there. Either it's going to accomplish the task that you sent it to do, or it's going to annoy the crap out of your enemy and they're going to send someone back to try and take it on.
Yeah.
Which means that they're not over here shooting you, they're over there doing that.
It's enough of an annoyance that you probably can't leave it alone.
You wouldn't be able to leave it alone, especially with tag infantry.
Yeah.
With tag infantry, if you know they've got something that uses tag to come in, you need to take that thing out. If it's near an objective or near something static that needs protecting, then that tag will bring loads of bombs in on it in no time. So yeah, it is worth Worth giving it a thought. For 58 BV, I don't know what a squad of infantry costs, but we'll go into that at some point. It can't be much.
It's probably less than 50.
You could put a pretty solidly skilled pilot in there for less than 100. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Don't take too many of them though, because it's so much maths and keeping track of stuff. And oh my gosh,
it's just gold. I love it. I think there's a couple of variants as well. There's an armor variant, a cargo variant.
Cargo variant. Okay.
Yeah, so they take out the armor. So all of the armor is gone. You can carry 2.5 tons of cargo, and this is for the guys that are out there. I know Mikey and Bregel and them are all talking about scenarios and things like that, and having some sort of cargo that you have to pick up and drop off, or that you have to secure in some way, making people buy vehicles like this, or thinking about buying vehicles like this, is actually a really cool way to get them to think differently.
Yeah.
Like a cargo variant, it's only got one door that you can carry, that you can use, so you can only put in, I think it's 1 ton per door per turn or something like that. I can't remember what the actual rules are, but you can make some house rules up. And it can lift a total of 7.75 tons of cargo at the expense of a 50% reduction in performance.
Okay.
So there you go. And then they've got a funky ferret that's
Funky ferret.
the Ferret Fermi,
Food.
which is it's got a fusion engine, Myanmar threads and main rotor.
Wow.
It uses vehicle stealth armor, an ECM suite. It's got a fuel cell. It's got all sorts of cool funky stuff. But there's 3 different variants plus the standard. So it's not really hugely varied, but just that infantry carrier thing that's there, I like it. I reckon that's cool. And the other infantry carrier that I love, that I've actually used a couple of times, is the Karnov.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows their VTOLs knew I was about to say Karnov, I'm sure. Because it's one of the go-to ones when you're trying to move stuff.
It's been around forever.
Forever. It's a 30 ton, so it's the max. It does not have very much armor, but it isn't a combat vehicle. It is listed as a combat vehicle, I think, but it doesn't have any weapons. It's an infantry transport vehicle, and I'm pretty sure it's listed as support vehicle rather than combat vehicle, but I can't remember. It's got 11-17 move. Like I say, bugger all armor. It can take a medium laser everywhere except the rotors, and then after that it's stuffed. But yeah, 11-17 for moving 6 tons of infantry is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's 2 full platoons.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's really good. It doesn't have any gun. Was there some that had machine guns?
Yeah, there's a couple of variants. I think why it's listed as a combat vehicle, but I can't remember if this version, the standard version, is listed as a combat vehicle. If you look up Karnov, you'll find it. It's not that hard. But in some of the programs, things are separated out, and you need to know that you're looking for the right thing. But there's a load of different variants, right? There's a load of different variants. There's one with an Act 20. It loses a certain amount of speed and gains some armor. But it also gains an Act 20. And 2 tons of ammo. I don't think it has a infantry bay either, so that's nasty. There's a variant with a thumper artillery piece in it.
Oh, what?
There's a helicopter that moves at 11-17 with a thumper artillery piece in it. That's the lowest level artillery piece, remember that, but it is an artillery piece. It's really cool.
Wow. You would never lock that down. You would never lock it down. It could just go anywhere it wants.
It's really cool. There's a gunship which gets 2 machine guns and 2 tons of ammunition. So you're basically just a machine gun thing. There's an upgrade version in 3055 that gets ferrofibrous armor and gets a machine gun and enlarges the cargo bay to 7 tons instead of 6.
There you go.
Which is really, really good. And then there's a battle armor transport variant that has 2 ER mediums, some extra ferrofibrous armor, an ECM, and an 8-ton cargo bay.
Wow. Gee, that's got a bit of stuff.
8 tons is enough for a battle armor unit and a full platoon of infantry.
Yeah. Or if you go depending on what rules you use.
Depending on what rules.
Heavier battle armor.
Yeah, and what battle armor you take.
Yeah.
I think standard Innisphere battle armor is 5 tons. But I think elementals cost 1 ton per thing or something like that. I can't remember now. But yeah, there's some different rules, but 8 tons is good.
Yeah.
8 tons is pretty good. Especially when you've got a couple of medium lasers on there as well. There's a periphery version that came up, loses the cargo, and takes a couple of rocket launchers. Well, actually, it's got 4 rocket launcher 20s and 6 rocket launcher 10s. So, rocket launchers are 1 shot, okay? But you've got 4 chances to do 20s and 6 chances to do 10s. And its BV is only 590. Bear in mind, this BV here for the standard version is only 125.
Yeah. But
So
it's not a combat thing. It's
not a combat. It's a troop transport. But you can get this and a couple of infantry platoons, which will fit in its cargo bay, for not very much at all. Because that's 125 to transport those 17 hexes. That's a full map sheet. It's really good. And then there's a custom variant that has heavy stealth armor and all sorts of other cool stuff. Wow. As far as Innisphere goes, that is barely scratching the surface.
Yeah.
There's loads of them. Seriously. Have a look. If you're interested, have a look at VTOLs in Sana or whatever and just see if you can find some cool ones because they're out there.
There was also a like a salvage recovery one called the Tembo.
Yep.
You see that?
Yeah, I remember that one.
It's like really big. It's just got these big arms that come down and scoop stuff up and off it goes.
Yeah.
But it looks really cool. They made a miniature for it. Iron Metals has a miniature for it, which is great.
But it's an awesome piece of equipment. Yeah. It's really, really good. There's one in here called the Planet Lifter that I think has 20 tons of cargo space.
Is that a VTOL one? Or is it an actual plane?
I think it's an actual plane, but I'm not 100% sure. But even if it is, it's still pretty damn cool.
Yeah. It's your poor book falling apart.
I have had this for years, okay? I haven't mistreated it. I bought it second hand and I've had it for like decades, so don't judge. But yeah, there's some really, 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 really cool stuff under VTOLs. There it is. Yeah, 20 tons of cargo space.
Yeah.
It's a conventional aircraft.
Yeah. But still, yeah.
That's 4.6 is its thrust. We'll have to go into thrust and over thrust at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, it can carry 20 tons. So technically you can put a Locust in there. Which is pretty cool.
It is very cool.
Right. Yeah. Well,
shall we have a look at what the clans of?
Let's beam this picture because he looks freaky as.
All right, so we're getting it from the 3060 book. So I've pretty much been just looking at this book because, like I said, if you haven't watched the other videos, this is the first technical readout that they released that actually mentions clan vehicles.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I've been referring to because I think they're quite cool. There's some really cool ones in here. The first one is the Donner, D-O-N-A-R. It's an assault helicopter.
And it looks assaulting.
So we'll put a picture of that up there. This one was introduced in 3017. Right? So while the Innisphere was all blowing itself apart, these guys were getting better technology and doing all sorts of cool stuff. This one they created to be an actual support, an aggressive attack helicopter. They wanted something that could basically get onto the front lines, and depending on which clan it is, it'll have a certain support thing. So that, say for example, it says here the Hell's Horses use it as a cavalry helicopter for anti-armor and fire support missions. Now, the Hell's Horses like putting vehicles on the front line. You know, I've talked about the Epona, which is an amazing little
Ask Mikey, you know.
Yeah. Whereas the Clan Steel Viper uses the aircraft in some second-line classes as a mobile fire support platform for infantry. Okay, so they assign it based on how they sort of value it compared to a mech and a mech warrior, I suppose. But I mean, it's actually kind of cool.
That's awesome looking.
This one also weighs in at 21 tons.
Yeah, which is weird.
All this time I thought, you know, you have to do things in 5 or 10 ton lots or whatever, but no, with vehicles it's the max of 30 for VTOL, so anything up to that you can build. So that's what they've done here. So 21 tons. Cost was it 878,000 and a little bit of change C-bills. All right, so under $1 million.
Under $1 million. That's nice.
And it's fast. It's 914.
Which is good.
It is very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ferrofibrous armor, so max speed 151 k's. Has 2 crew in what do they call a tandem? So pilot at the front or whatever, and gunner at the back or whatever. 2 weapon systems, an ER large laser, and it's got the heat sinks in there. It's a fusion engine, I believe. Yep, fusion engine. So a couple of extra tons for heat sinks, and it's got 2 Streak 2s as a backup.
Yeah.
So it's saving some ammunition there. If you don't get a lock on, it's not going to fire. So they just put 1 ton on there, 50 shots. That's
yeah. And for hunting down other vehicles and like light mechs, that thing is gold.
Yeah.
That large laser has got some serious range on it.
It does, yeah.
And the SRMs, when you're getting close,
that's good.
Nasty.
So we've got 58 armour, so 3 tons of the ferrofibrous, so 16 on the front. So a clan PPC hit, you've still got a little bit of armour left over, you can get out of there. All right, so 14 on the side, 12 on the rear, and just 2 on the rotors, which is a standard thing. Yeah. It's nice. It looks really cool. They do have a miniature for it, which is nice. It's because it's got a twin rotor thing. They actually put that onto the miniature as well, which is great. There are some variants for it, but one of them is it was used by Clan Goliath Scorpion. They replace the 2 SRM launchers for tech. So we're talking like Beagle Active Probe, Guardian ECM, and Tag Designator.
Nice.
Okay, so that becomes a real threat if you've got some artillery support in your force. And the Hell's Horses are probably going to have that, so they won't use it. So.
That's really, I like that one. And it looks awesome.
It looks really
brilliant.
Cool. So, like, fast, decent arm for what it is, but yeah, it looks really, really nice. So. I like it. But the clans do use VTOLs for transporting troops. Okay, I know that most elementals, they'll be riding on mechs or whatever it is and things like that. But, you know, I mean, if you're a garrison force, you get around however you can. And the one that I want to talk about is the Anhur. ANHUR. Okay, it is a transport. Wow. And instead of rotors, we'll put that up there. Boop, bing, thanks, man. So instead of rotors, it uses like an actual jet system, but it's how it looks, it is a VTOL.
Yeah.
All right. So let me just, I had some little info on here, but I really like it, and it's got a lot of combat stuff on it, which is quite interesting. So,
I'm looking at that and going, I want 2 of those. Yeah.
So they've maxed it out again. So 30 tons. This is the one they want. So this has been used for quite a while. It was introduced in 2840. Okay, pretty much all the clans use this one. It's pretty much standard. So only Clan Blood Spirit, Hell's Horses, and Star Adder permanently assign the vehicle to combat units as an infantry transport. The Fire Mandrills, Goliath Scorpion, Ice Hellion, and Snow Raven use a design for combat duties on an ad hoc basis. I'm not surprised that Hell's Horses have on the front.
Yeah, Hell's Horses are just insane about this sort of stuff.
1.2 million C-bills, so a little bit more, but for something that has an 812 movement that can transport troops, it has a cargo space of 7 tons.
And it's got weaponry.
It's got weaponry.
So it's like a super duper version of the Karnov.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was like an Star League version of the Karnov that went away with them and then came back all amped up. But yeah, that's really good.
I mean, generally what you do, you look at what was around for the Star League and just improve on it.
Because it's got slightly lower movement, but it's got better armor and it's got weaponry and better cargo. 15 armor on the front, so a total of 58 for the armor factor, so 3 tons there. But yeah, the weapons are actually quite good. It's lasers, so taking advantage of the fusion engine, you know.
So we've got 2 medium clan pulse lasers and a clan ER medium laser. So there's a pulse on the rear and the others are front.
Yeah.
Right? But pulse is good. You know,
Yeah.
it gives you your accuracy. That's really nice. But just was it 12 no BV2 720 battle value.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, I could get 7 Carnols for that, but that thing's armed. So, it's, yeah.
I mean, yeah, Unisphere stuff is cheaper, but I mean, it's all about.
That's
all
awesome. I love
It's
it.
really, really nice, and the miniature, they have a miniature for it. It's quite decent, and these the wing bits are like one piece.
Okay.
So there's a bar, and it slots in, and that goes in. So you can leave it loose if you want, and just
And technically
rotate it if you want.
wherever
I
you
mean, magnets are probably a better choice, modify it a bit, but you can model it basically any way you want. You can have it in like this picture; it's sort of taken off and things like that.
That's awesome.
You could model that. It comes on a like a flight stand.
Yeah.
So you can hover it and things like that. I've
Yeah.
got one. I should have brought it out to show
Most
you,
of the
but that's
VTOLs
okay.
have that. They have like a little hex flight stand thing with the spike.
Yeah, it looks really good. But I really like that. It looks really good. It does a great job of
That's
what it's
freaking
supposed
awesome.
to do. It's cheap BV for like clan stuff, and decent speed can get where you need it to go. But having that firepower, having there's no ammo on there to worry about. Nothing's going to explode there. That's really, really good.
The more of these vehicle videos we do, the more I'm leaning towards Hell's Horses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to my opinion, they had the right idea. It was pretty cool.
Bloody oath, you integrate the lot, but I mean, that's cool.
All the clans are cool. They've got their sort of, if you have a look at sort of what sort of trials and things they had to go through to be where they are. I know we've lost some of them along the timeline, and the poor fire mandrels.
I've never seen that one before. I love it. I reckon that's great.
It's
I'd have
nice.
3 of them.
Looks
You have a
nice.
lance of them and some battle armor, and you can take anything on. That's cool. I love it.
But that's the 2 I just wanted to talk about. But there are some more. But they're really nice. The clan, and it's of course like the designs of the clan vehicles look a little bit different. It's like we showed pictures of the other ones, all the wheel and all that. So they look different, and that's what I like about them. They've got something a bit different to look at.
Yeah.
Honorary mention.
Yes. to one. It's a 15-ton vehicle. I think it's probably about, what's 184 k's an hour? Is that like a 9?
It was. We're talking the Mantis.
The Mantis is the one we're talking about.
I think it was 10-15.
10-15.
It was quite fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it being pretty fast because I've actually got a couple of Mantises. I've used them. It's only 434 BV, but it has 5 ER small lasers.
Yeah. So designed by the Free Worlds League.
Yeah, it's a relatively new one.
Yeah.
Under 1 million C-bills. But yeah, that was the thing, is 5 ER small lasers, and you can fire all of them at once.
Yeah.
There's vehicles, you don't have to worry about heat build-up or any of that sort of stuff. So 5 lasers all at once, boom, bang, boom, done. And I think they're like 3 points each or something.
Yeah.
And there's a version, which is why I liked it. There's a version with Guardian ECM. It's a Jihad version. There's Guardian ECM, a C3 Slave, and a Fusion engine with a mast mount.
Ah, okay, there you go.
Which is the one that lets you spot
Yeah.
independently without having to actually expose yourself to fire, which is really, really cool. And that's only 304 BV. So it's even less BV, but it's got cooler equipment. It's,
I really like that one for city fighting.
yeah, but it hasn't actually got any armament. The Mantis originally, the variant that I was talking about just then, doesn't have any armament. But that, for city fighting, that is really, really cool. You could do the Godzilla thing and flying in in between the office buildings and trying to ping things with 5 ER small lasers.
But if you've got infantry or whatever who have dug into like a certain level of a building, you've got the speed to get in there, and there's some good little firepower there. I mean, depending on how thick the building is, it might stop a lot of that damage. But light buildings, you can just pepper away and do some damage to them.
434 BV, you can put a decent pilot in there. It won't be fantastic, but a decent pilot for 500-ish. And 5 ER small lasers, I'm pretty sure that's 15 points of damage if all of them hit.
Yeah. Well, you get a pair of those running around. If in a target-rich environment, there's a lot of rear armor you can go after with that.
Especially if there's BV floating around in other vehicles or in light mechs, because that's 5 independent hits.
True.
Technically. And if all of them hit, it's 15 points of damage. So for vehicles, lots and lots of hits is bad.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how you bring vehicles down. You get lots and lots of hits, so they have to keep rolling on the table and getting motive and all that junk. But against a light mech, you're peppering it with 3-point groupings 5 times. You're bound to hit something important eventually.
Yeah.
And it's 5 points away from forcing a piloting check.
I think it was 11:17. I'm trying to think about the speed. I remember it was really, really, really fast.
Yeah.
Maybe it was yeah, it was fun. Maybe it was 11:17. It was fast. It was fast little helicopter. It looks cool too. Like, I actually like the design.
Yeah, it's not a bad looking thing. It's like one laser on the front and then 2 on each wing, and it's got the like a bulky little body. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of them as minis, I'm pretty sure. I have used them, but I don't think I've actually painted the minis yet, which is embarrassing.
We've focused mostly on just playing with mechs, haven't we? And especially now that the new Catalyst ones have come out, because they're really nice.
So far we have focused mainly on mechs, but I mean, we've all played games before, and I've used vehicle forces, and I try to integrate vehicles in, especially things like the electronic warfare stuff.
Yeah.
If you can put which one was it? The scimitar. If you can put a scimitar out on the board with a decent crew in it, you don't have to worry about tagging things or narking things or any of that sort of stuff with an expensive mech. You've got a little hovercraft that goes really, really fast, and if you can hit, say, 2 mechs with the narc beacon and tag 1 objective thing and get some artillery or indirect fire on it, it's paid for itself. Yeah, that's great. I reckon they're brilliant. And the Karnov and the other ones that transport infantry, they're gold. They're really, really good. If you use infantry. If you're not doing infantry, then don't sweat it.
Yeah. But
you can still find some really cool vehicles out there. Really cool ones.
So there we go. That is VTOLs, and I like them. I like them a lot. You just got to be careful what you go up against, but depending on play scenarios. Scenarios are fun.
Yeah.
Plan out a scenario, and VTOL can fit into it really well, then take it and give it a bash.
You do need to think a bit more with vehicles generally, but VTOLs specifically. You need to think a bit more about where you're putting it, how you're moving it, what you're doing with it, all that sort of stuff. And that's why I like them, because it makes me think like that, because I'm crap at it. and the more you think like that, the more you have to figure stuff out. And these are really tactical, because if you put them in the wrong spot, they get obliterated.
They can, yeah.
They just get obliterated. If you don't move them far enough, or if you put them in front of something with flak guns or whatever, they'll get wiped out and you'll have wasted your BV. So you have to think a bit more about what you're doing with them.
Well, I think we'll probably come back to these guys a little bit when we start talking about infantry, because we had mentioned that they're good for infantry. So we'll go through and explain some really good tactics on how to use infantry alongside VTOLs.
And like I say, I think we're doing. I think we're thinking of doing some pimping vehicles as well. Yeah. So we might do one for each motive type, if that's something you guys might want to see. We're probably going to do it anyway, but if it's something you want to see, chuck a comment down. But I'm looking forward to trying to do some stuff with VTOLs, because I haven't played with them for a while.
No, that's right. Okay, if you found this video useful, consider subscribing. We'd like to basically build the community, and it's always the more people that are involved, and the more comments sort of get made, and we know what people want to see and hear.